souls. Science. Paranormal. Drinks. Three tortured souls. Entertain, educate, recreate, and intoxicate.
Woo! We are back. I was trying to get a pen out of my drawer, and I was like, "Oh, time's it's gonna put me on camera and it's gonna look weird."
It did look weird.
Thank you. That's the way to start it off. What's up, everyone? Bob's here, Melissa's here, Karma's here, and we got an extra tortured soul with us tonight. We got Daniel with us. What's up, Daniel?
I am feeling extremely tortured this evening.
Good. You should be. You should be. Because tonight we're going to talk about Mothman. Because we are getting ready. Oh, yeah, there's Mothman. I have a Mothman. I don't know if you can see him. I got a Mothman hanging up.
I think it's the same Mothman.
It's right there. It's a plushy one.
Oh, yours is a plushie. I don't you have one of these little?
I have that one too.
Okay.
That's up on the. Where is it? Oh yeah, it's also hanging up. Because I ran out of wall space, so I started hanging stuff from the ceiling. Because reasons. Anyway, we're going to talk about Mothman today because we're going to the Mothman Festival this weekend. All of us, actually, all four of us will be there. So the 3TS crew plus one will be in person. Yep. I can't wait. This is nice. We I think we've done this once a year for the last 2 or 3 years?
2 or 3 years?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, because we did Gettysburg twice, right?
Yep.
And then now, this is our third year.
Nice.
Awesome. We're gonna hang out with the West Virginia Skeptics Society. Is that what that's right? Yeah, because Daniel's got the shirt on. But today we're gonna talk about Mothman. And we're just gonna go off on our own little tangents here. I'll give you a primer just to start. If you're not familiar with Mothman, you should, because it's one of the most famous cryptids that are out there. So the basic story is in West Virginia folklore. Actually, I'm reading this from the Wikipedia page, and it's interesting that it says West Virginia folklore. I love that. The Mothman is a humanoid creature reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant area from November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. The first newspaper report was published in the Point Pleasant Register, dated November 16th, 1966, titled "Couple See Man-Sized Bird, ... creature, ... something." The national press soon picked up the reports and helped spread the story across the United States. The source of the legend is believed to have originated from sightings of out-of-migration sandmill cranes and or herons, like the giant blue heron. I think we'll talk about that later. The creature was introduced to a wider audience by Gray Barker in 1970, and was later popularized by John Keel in his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, claiming that there were paranormal events related to the sightings and a connection to the collapse of the Silver Bridge. The book was later adapted into a 2002 film starring Richard Gere, which sucked balls, in my opinion.
Terrible.
I didn't like it at all. Was not what I expected whatsoever.
And it's not like the book. It's not even.
Yeah, it was horrible. So basic history, I'll just throw it out there. On November 15th, 1966, two young couples, and I get, sometimes I hear them referred to as teens, and then other times they're referred to as married couples, two married couples. And
that's
a Okay, we'll get into this in a little bit.
Yeah.
Two young couples from Point Pleasant, Roger and Linda Scarberry,
Mhm.
and Steve and Mary Mallet, told police that they had seen a large white creature whose eyes glowed red standing at the side of the road near the TNT area, the site of a former World War II munitions plant. Linda Scarberry described it as a slender, muscular man about 7 feet tall with white wings, and said that she was unable to discern its face due to the hypnotic effect of its eyes. I'm sorry. Look into my eyes. Oh, I read that. All I could think of was the Bela Lugosi Dracula, and just the close-up shots of his eyes, like, Oh my goodness. There was a sort of a chase. Apparently, they saw this creature once. They came around a bend. They saw it again. Then it gave chase to them as they sped back to town, hitting about 100 to 105 miles per hour. I have my doubts about that. And that the creature effortlessly kept up with them without barely flapping its wings. And so that's pretty much the story. And then other things happened. There were some other sightings, which I really didn't get into because I really focused on the primary sighting. But that's what I got so far. And opening statements, comments, Dave.
All right. It's a great place to visit. I've been there a couple times. We did it. I was telling these guys, Jen and I would stop there when we were making the trip back from Pennsylvania to Illinois when we were house hunting, and we'd stop there kind of halfway and spend the night. Fun place. Great. The museum's fun. It's great to read about the stories. It's great to see the locations. A lot of fun. I'm not going to repeat the history Kenny just found, but that's pretty much it. Everything else after that was, you could almost say it was built off of other stories and embellishments. At least that's my take on it.
Right.
The movie, I probably differ with the three of you. I actually liked it quite a bit because it wasn't what I expected. So it was better than I thought. Knowing going into it, it's probably going to take a lot of creative liberty, which it obviously did. But I thought it was good, but that's just me. And it's maybe because I think my expectations were it's going to suck, and I kind of know what to expect. They're going to butcher the book, and it was better than I expected. So that was fun. I've read the John Keel book. We actually listened to it one time all the way when we were driving down there, just to kind of get refreshed with the story and that book. Some interesting stuff, but again, a lot of it is second, third, fourth hand account. And, this stuff even about 100 people witnessed it. It's like, okay, so we heard that, but that came from basically, I think, somebody embellishing another story in another book, and that's about it. So there's, it's interesting though that, the bridge collapsed and then they supposedly stopped reporting it. And then there's been some other locations, and recently in the last couple of years, being now that we're up just 40 miles north of Chicago, saw a lot of the stuff about the supposed sightings in Chicago, which they're claiming are similar to the Mothman sightings that happened down at Point Pleasant. However, I don't know, besides the, Chicago Bears being a complete disaster, I don't know of any other natural disasters that have happened in Chicago lately. Oof. But anyway, good stuff. It's fun to talk about. It's an interesting topic. It's fascinating. I don't know how much of it you could even try to prove at this point.
Right.
But it's great. It's going to be a fun festival. I look forward to the crowd in the town, and it's going to be a good time.
Cool. Tim?
Without going back over the history, a couple things for me are the newspaper. I have the newspaper report pulled up and had some things highlighted, and it does state that the men and their wives. So that's maybe they were married, unless this is just a repeat or reprint.
There was a tendency to marry young, so they could have been early. Some of them could have been in their late teens.
That's true too.
It could be. It is West Virginia.
Hey.
That's I knew it.
They could have been brothers and sisters. We don't know.
Yeah, cousins.
Ouch. Ouch.
They were the children of the Mothman, obviously.
Yes.
Cousins of Children of the Corn.
I will say,
Welcome
I
to the
did
club,
really
Danny.
kind of realize that, growing up, I had always heard that the sighting was first at the bridge. And that's what made it. That's, either, it was up for debate. Either he was trying to, or they were trying to warn of impending danger, or that they had caused the collapse. But then after that was the follow up. I didn't know it was in that chronological order that the married couple was the first sighting, the first report. The newspaper, it looks like it was dated November 16th, but they were recounting the night before, which I think is cool because it's maybe less than 24 hours that they had to get out, interview the person, and then have it published by the next day. And then it was kind of quiet. I'm kind of questioning when the TNT, when the the ammo dump kind of thing took place. I also was looking for the Men in Black to see when they showed up too, but I didn't kind of get there just yet.
Yeah, I didn't have time to get there because there was so much. As soon as I saw the MIB and UFOs, and I was like, "Oh, this is such a deeper topic than I originally thought." So, I mean, I knew about some of that stuff already. I had the general idea, but getting into the detail was like, oh.
I did. I looked up. I sent you guys some a funny video. One of the I can't think the official word, ornithological experts from. Ooh. Thank you very much. From WVU had kind of, don't make me do it again, especially after a few drinks. Had likened it to a large bird like a sandhill crane or the blue heron. Right. But, so I looked them up, because it looked like that they were saying that it flies fast, but walks really strange, very awkward. And I thought that was kind of a Scooby clue as to how it walks. So I wanted to see how it walked. And basically I just ran into a bunch of kids getting chased by sandhill cranes, which I loved because there's nothing funnier than that shit. And that's why I'm going to hell. Other than that, I'll stop there and not get too far into anything else.
All right, Daniel.
Oh, there's so much to unpack with it. Okay, so the red eyes, the eye shine that's associated with it. Ben Radford did he took all these reports and he looked at it, and there was actually only one reported instance of eye shine, of red eye shine in the original sightings. And so that has become part of the mythos of it, and it's something that's associated with it. But Ben's article, I forget, I've got it here somewhere. But yeah, he did the analysis, and there was actually, and the person who reported the eye shine it wasn't a firsthand, it was like she reported that her father saw it and said that it looked like two bicycle reflectors. That's one thing. The other thing is that there was actually, depending upon which story you listen to, it was actually cited in Clendenin, West Virginia first. There were some people in Clendenin that saw it. With the Men in Black, with that, the thing that just fascinates me with the whole freaking story is Gray Barker got involved with this early on. And Gray Barker is a known hoaxer, and so he wrote a book called The Silver Bridge in 1970, and that was 5 years. And he talks about that. I've got the book. I actually have the book right here. That was released 5 years before John Keel's Mothman prophecies. Mm-hmm. And I have a letter. I have the letter here where a person that had reviewed the book for Gray, it says It says, he doesn't really understand the point. He says, in my layman's candid opinion, I was presented with a readable, interesting, and thoughtfully fascinating story. It was indeed a delight. However, Gray, to be honest, I am absolutely confused as to the significance of this story, if any. I can't draw any satisfying conclusion other than the fact that your cast of personally involved people have vivid imaginations or are prone to the bizarre. So, and Gray was also known to encourage people to lie and to tell the stories. So there's so much that I think something happened. I think that it was probably more likely that it was a combination of things, that in the one instance where the red eye shine was seen, that was probably an owl. Somebody had mistaken. I think that there were a lot of big birds in that area. Specifically, the blue heron. Sandhill crane is extremely rare in that area. So, at any rate, that's what I know about that.
So I want to comment on the red eye shine, because I read Ben's article too, but I was confused because I read the original, apparently like the handwritten accounts by 3 of the 4 witnesses that first saw it. Well, the first news article about it, and all 3 of them report the eyes.
Okay,
so they have, and I'll read it out to you. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, where's the eye shine? Because first is Linda Scarberry, and she's got the longest. She's got a lot of pages in here. But she mentions on, I guess, page 6. And you know what? I was reading this and I'm going page by page by page. And are anybody fans of Friends? So all I could think of was like, she wrote 8 pages front and back like on this thing. But she talks about red eyes not seen until they went back. They initially left and then went back and they saw the red eyes. It says, and I saw the red eyes then and told eyewitness number 5, he shined lights right on them without being told where they were. And then the other 2 witnesses, which I believe are Mary and Roger, because I went through these reports and kind of, because they blacked out who the other witnesses were, which I don't get, because we know the 4 people that were in the car. So I don't understand why they're blacked out. But you can tell who's who by just reading the rest of the notes.
Are those the original reports?
These are the handwritten reports from the witnesses a few days after it happened.
So I'm just out of curiosity. Maybe that was blacked out a long time ago.
Yeah, these were. So as far as I know from this book, the author of this book, and this is Mothman, the facts behind the legend.
That's the Sergeant in Walmsley.
Yeah. So
that Walmsley he's the one that has the Mothman Museum.
Okay, so he went and talked to Linda, and Linda had copies of these, and so Sergeant or whoever did this book, they blacked it out at the request of Linda. So I don't know why. Again, because we already know who was in the car, so it wasn't like a big secret. And like I said, the descriptions in here, when you read the letters, you can figure out who's who. It's really not hard. But then let's see, eyewitness. They talk about the fiery red eyes. Eyewitness number 1 also mentions. Let's see. When I first saw this thing, which appeared to be a man about 6 feet tall with wings on its back and red eyes, 2 inches in diameter and about 6 inches apart, which is kind of funny because when you read the next witness, he also says this thing stood about 6 feet tall with wings on its back. It was light gray in color with red eyes, about 2 inches in diameter and 6 to 8 inches apart. I mean, when I read the reports, the thing that stood out to me was that some of these things are almost word for word,
Right.
the same as if they already discussed it, which they probably did because it was days later that these reports were written. But it just sounded like they already had their story straight. And I'm not saying that they were lying. I'm just saying that they had talked about it and they had their stories together. They probably talked about it and said, all right, I think it was this, I think it was that. And they kind of decided on one story. So, but
yeah, that kind of happens with multiple witnesses,
Mhm.
especially if you leave them alone and let them kind of coalesce and talk.
right.
They eventually kind of, I don't know if it's groupthink, but you'll eventually have a consensus of what everybody saw, and then it turns into what everybody saw.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm like you. I'm not saying that they're lying or trying to make stuff up, but it is also, I think, human nature when you get those four people together and they're like, what the fuck? What the hell did we see? And everybody starts talking and they're like, yeah, I mean, maybe it was 2 to 4 inches. Maybe it was red. You know,
Mhm.
I can see that happening
I
without
think
purposeful, trying to deceive.
I think the confusion with the red eye statements is that the book that you're referring to, Daniel, or actually that Ben refers to in his article, is from 2005, and this
Right.
is a 2002 book. So this is 3 years later, and I think that second book is dealing with additional eyewitness accounts
Additional eyewitnesses.
like
Okay.
outside. So
Because
you're looking at other people besides the original story. Maybe it's not I haven't read that book, so I don't know.
he says that, let's see, the characteristics in Walmsley's 2005 book. So you're right.
Yeah.
It includes firsthand eyewitness descriptions from nearly a dozen people who claim to have seen the creature. Of those, only one person mentions red glowing eyes, a woman by the name of Shirley Hensley,
Yeah.
who admits that she herself didn't see it, but they were like bike reflectors. So,
And that really stands out because in the original article and in
Mhm.
these eyewitness accounts, the handwritten accounts, I should call them that, handwritten accounts, because
Mhm.
but they all mention that they only glowed red or shone red when the headlights fell
Mhm.
upon them, not
Good
when they were
clue.
just in the dark. Yeah. So, and I immediately thought of, eye shine. I mean,
Mhm.
how many pictures, and we're all old enough to know, like growing up with film cameras, if you took a picture of somebody too close, you got red eye,
Mhm.
and you saw it. So that's what I'm curious about. Like, what are we talking about here with the eye shine? Was it like big eye? I don't think it was big eyes, and kind of thinking they weren't close enough to it.
Either that, or maybe because I mean, if you see an owl's eyes at night,
Right.
if you shine a flashlight around, you see they can look disproportionately, and especially if you're afraid.
Mhm.
So it's but most other and that's the other thing. Most other, like deer eyes, shine green.
Green, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of these others will shine green, but the I don't know.
I think
I'm
the owl does have red shine, I
yeah.
think, in the center. So it's
Yeah.
surrounded by the yellow, but it's in the center, you'll get the red eye shine. But again, like even when I'm looking at a picture of it, you got to be pretty damn close to see
Mhm.
that. I don't know if it's just a picture too, because this is a
Mhm.
photo that I'm looking at, not real life. So I don't know if
Yeah,
it's different, if it shines more, if it's more pronounced.
and the other thing is, if you look at like how some of these stories are portrayed, and if you go back and you look at like the moon, if you look at the moon phase on the night that night, it's I just don't I just I, I just think they saw a big bird. I think that, and of course, there's all these people that went out and started hunting for this thing because they did the same thing with the Flatwoods Monster. And they did the same.
Wow,
Yeah.
really? In West Virginia, they went out
Yeah.
hunting?
Dinner.
Where's some good eating?
You'd be
Listen.
surprised. Actually, you wouldn't be surprised. Never mind. I will say, if you drive through here, and you might, if you grow up driving in West Virginia, and I'm sure it's not isolated just to the West Virginia, but probably in any rural place, you kind of have a tendency. I mean, you will see some eyes low to the ground.
Mhm.
Here, it's kind of usually it's a possum, and you'll see it driving down a country road, and you see two glowing things, but you're like, gotta slow down, because something's going to jump across. Every now and then you'll catch a deer up ahead when they see you coming. But I can't remember. I don't remember ever seeing anything red. Not saying that it doesn't happen. But I've seen, the kind of the greenish hue, the milky white hue as well. But none of them ever stood out as being huge for me.
So did they actually light this thing up with their headlights at one point?
That's what it sounds like.
So it's hard to tell.
I mean, you would think you're going to see a little bit more than just the eye glow.
I mean, they're talking that the reports go between 11:30 and midnight. So you're within a half hour. So it's dark out.
Yeah.
They're out in this TNT area. And I've only been out there once, and it's dark.
Yeah, I've been out there too. It's
driving around. Okay, yeah. So I mean, it's got to be dark. And the first written report from Linda says that we came over this small rise in the road all at once. Eyewitness 3, which is Roger, because it was his car and he was driving. Actually, yeah, no, it was Steve. I don't know. Anyway, yelled at us to look at the thing in the road. I looked up and saw it go around the corner at the old powerhouse. It didn't run, but wobbled like it couldn't keep its balance. Its wings were spread just a little. We sat there for a few seconds, then took off. I kept yelling for him to hurry. We didn't stop, even for the curves. We got out to Route 62 and was coming down the road, and that thing was on the second hill when you come into the first bad curves. So, as soon as our lights hit it, that's the last line. It was gone. So when it lit up, and that's that. Reading that, and I think she mentions it again, and somebody else mentions it, that as soon as the lights hit it, it took off. Which, to me, that's a characteristic of any wild animal. Like once you shine a light on it, except for the deer, because the deer just fucking sits there and doesn't do anything. But other animals, especially around here, as soon as I turn a light on, flashlight, they take off. So yeah, I think it was when their headlights were on it, and that's the only time according to the first newspaper report, the only time the eyes glowed was when they put the headlights on it. That's the only time they saw the eyes.
I know this is kind of off topic, but kind of is. It makes it. I wonder what 1966 headlights, like the type of light that comes from those headlights are, because today I think, are they halogen, the ones that like kill you as you're driving towards them?
So I was digging because that came up. Some of that came up because I was worried about, or not worried, but concerned about them saying they were going over 100 miles an hour,
which is faster than the speed of light.
Yeah. I mean, hello, light speed. Saying that and just being in the car, I wonder. And they also, at one point, they were saying how it had an alleged 10-foot wingspan. And another report said that as it glided over the hood or over the roof of the car, that the wingtips were touching the doors, which
how could you see that?
I don't know how it does that. And still flies.
It looks like a Klingon bird of prey with
right.
The wings just drop down permanently.
But if you're looking out the side of the, I mean, how could they see that? If it were, that's the thing. If they're going that fast, and it's it's on both sides in the dark, and there is one straight stretch through there that I think that they could, like the old Roadrunner vehicles that I have a cousin that he loved to drive fast, and it would not surprise me if they did at least maybe break 100 at one point. Now that I don't know, that's supposition, but I know on these little short straights, it's not impossible. But
I'm curious. Well, the car itself, like I looked up and found the car, and it
Mhm.
was a 1957 Chevy,
Right.
Bel Air. So black. But I mean that had a top speed of, I think, of 125
Mhm.
miles per hour, something like that. So if you're hitting 100 and plus in that thing's got to be rattling and just
Mhm.
going crazy because you're topping it out, and it's not something that's made for racing. Well,
Right.
although I don't know, because they do talk about how people would come there from all over the place to do
Drag
racing.
race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There's
I
a
don't know if
strange-
it was just stock or just souped up, or I don't know. But still, that to me, that was like, because actually I was looking up the width of the car. I wanted to know what car it was so I can look up how wide it was to see, what we're talking about. And it's just I think it's 6 foot. Yeah, 6 feet wide, the whole car. So, give it another 2 feet where it was 2 feet of wingspan. I don't know. That just seems like a lot. And
Yeah.
JD brings up a pretty good question here, which is always a concern. How far away was he to judge it was 6 feet tall?
Mhm.
That we don't know. As far as I couldn't find like markers where they were. They give descriptions of where the creature allegedly was, but it was like it was by the north side of the power plant building. So you don't know exactly where it was. You don't know how far it was. And again, like we have to take into account that distance, the headlights of a 57 Chevy, and what's the range. What's
And
the
it's dark.
yeah,
And it's dark too. I mean,
right. And if they're freaking out, and what are they comparing it to? Because this is another problem I had. Depending on the eyewitness account from one of the four people in the car, it was in the middle of the road, it was on the side of the road, and then later on in 2001, Linda changed her story
mhm.
and said that it was stuck. It had its wing stuck in a guide wire, and it used its hands, which is the first time anyone said it had hands, to pull its wing free. And then that's also when she added the UFOs and MIB shit. So,
Well, 1957 stock comes with a 283 V8
V8 engine, yeah.
super turbo fire V8. I love those old things. I love those old sayings. With it produced between 188 and 230 horsepower. However, the weight of the car was 3,273 pounds.
Yeah.
So, maybe if you're like terrified and scared to death, you're getting ready to get eaten by a large chicken on steroids. Maybe going 55 on a dark road feels like you're going 100.
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
And I'm looking, let's see, I see the stretch of road that looks like it's, let's see, that it's, so the stretch of road that looks straight, that's in this area. It's before town, it's north of town, it's in this wildlife area, TNT area, and it's the only straightaway that I see is only a mile long.
Right.
So let's see. I wonder how fast. How quick does a 57 Chevy
283.
get to?
And we're assuming because it comes with a V6 as well. But it does say stock.
Now there's an interview on called Monstrum. I don't know. It was I forget who produced it, but there's the guy that is in charge of the travel and tourism and what is it? Industrial development in that area. I don't remember what his title is, but he makes reference in that video about the fact that it was a souped up vehicle.
Oh,
So
I
that,
remember that. Yeah.
yeah.
The
So
other thing with that, especially that era, is it really wasn't a whole lot to swap engines.
Mhm.
Young
Right.
kids, 57. I mean, I imagine that at least during that time, outside of the actual manufacturer itself, you could probably fit just about anything that, as long as it's a Chevy or a Chevrolet engine in there.
I don't
But we
see
don't
it.
know that.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not giving me like a how many feet it needs to get up to 100 miles an hour. There's not enough room to get up to 88 miles per hour.
We're
We don't
going
need
back to the
roads.
future.
Oh man! All right, so red eye shine.
That brings up, before I forget, I
But
just
an
want to say,
8-cylinder with what, about a mile stretch?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
But they
100
were
before you hit a
probably,
curve.
yeah, going into it though. They were probably going a pretty good clip going into that,
Yeah.
and then would accelerate through the.
Yeah. So it's I mean, I don't know if it's impossible, but again, if it's dark, I don't know if it's a pitch black road and you're going
Yeah.
55, even 50 at night, it feels a hell of a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
so it's
And I just don't know. Like, that's not. Is that something you're looking at?
No,
If you're scared and you're in that situation where you think this
No.
creature is chasing you, are you looking at the speedometer?
I barely
don't
look
think
at
so.
it when I'm driving normally. So why would I do it
I
then?
never look at it.
Going with the flow, man.
Yeah, but yeah, that's it. Like, you're trying to get out of there,
So
and if you're that scared, you're pushing the pedal to the floor, and you're trying to get out of there as fast as you can. So
Right.
yeah, and the way it's worded in these handwritten reports, it sounds like one person said, yeah, we were going about 100, 105, and everyone just said, okay,
sure.
that's what we were doing, and they went with it. So yeah.
So what do we? I mean, a lot of speculation, not speculation, proposals put forward that could have been birds. What do we know about the bird population? I get the range. I know the range is possible, but do we have anything, any records of surveys or anything being done in
Yeah.
that area
Yes.
at that time? And
The very first sighting, I think it was in 1934, of a sandhill crane was in that area. I actually have.
I'm trying to bring up your article.
Okay, so let me see. Here is the blue heron is the most common.
yep, I'm familiar. We have them here actually right out
Yeah.
a pond behind us.
They're the most common wading bird in the state,
Yep.
like large wading bird. But the sandhill crane is not common to this area. So if I put up, can I show you this?
Sure, yeah. It says, in fact, the earliest reported sighting of the crane in Point Pleasant was in 1938, along with 50 other sightings within the defined 60-mile radius from 1938 until 2021.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can share it.
Okay.
On the bottom.
Yeah, here and there. That's not the right one. I'm going to show you all. Nope, that's not the right one. That's not the right one.
Podcast problems.
That's not the right one. There we go. Okay. So this is the you'll notice over here is West Virginia. This is the sandhill crane.
Yep.
Okay. So now if you go, let me get back over here. If you go there, there's the blue heron.
Yep.
And then there's I also have the migration routes of those little, and this one didn't make it into the article, but this is these are the migration routes of the sandhill crane, the autumnal and the vernal, and they can appear over here, but they're extremely rare.
And what's the time of year they would even be migrating?
Well, I
Does it
don't
overlap
remember.
with the November through December sightings?
Yeah, so that's 13 months though that would have been allegedly spotted It was because it was 13 months to the day, is what they said, from the first time it was spotted until the collapse of the bridge, and it was supposed to have been seen throughout those time periods, as I understand it. So,
Right.
I don't think
you'd have to map out the sightings, and I mean, if you're gonna do it, you'd map them out with the migration times. But
Well,
I mean,
there's
sandhill probably not, but blue heron maybe.
yeah, and I think that they focused on the red eye shine part, and because of that, how do I get rid of this? I'm trying to get rid of this silly stop screen. So I think because they focused on that red eye shine that Dr. Robert Smith at WVU, that's what he came up with and said, it's a sandhill crane because of the 2 red spots on the sandhill crane. But I don't think that there was, I don't know, but I think it's more likely that it was a combination of birds, red eye shine from an owl, and then the story spread, and then people saw the big bird.
I mean, I wouldn't go with the crane and the spot, the red spot on its head, because that just wouldn't. It would not light up when you show light. It wouldn't reflect like that. It would be a dull, still a dull red. You could probably not even tell it's red from what they're using. They're using headlights in the dark. Headlights are meant to be pointed at the ground, and give you a range of, I think, like 30, 40 feet or 50 feet, something like that. So it's not going to be up high, especially if you're dealing with a figure that they're claiming is like 6-7 feet tall. And depending on the distance it is away from you. And if you ever seen shots at night with people that walk in front of headlights, like from their knees down, they're illuminated beautifully. I mean, really bright. But then as the light travels up, you barely see. It's not as illuminated, and most of the illumination comes from like street lights overhead or other people, other headlights passing by.
You need a bigger truck. You got to get a big truck and blast them with the high beams up high.
You're simply not going to see the red head of the crane.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
I mean, I've seen them around here at night, and the headlights hit them. And granted, it's a big truck, and it's compared to the vehicle that may have shown headlights on them. But boy, it's even in lower light, I get to mistake a heron for a person or a 6-foot creature, especially when you get into the reports of it. It flew over the car and the wings were touching on each side. Try to find any bird that would hang with a car that long to terrorize that car.
How is it really?
Huh?
How are they seeing it? Like there's a roof.
It's over top. How would they see that it was?
You're not looking at it. There's no line of sight.
Sounds a bit like Jeepers Creepers to me.
Oh, that's a good movie. I like that.
Scared the shit out of me.
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to think. I mean, one, how would you see it? That's a great general point. And two, tell me what blue heron is going to hover over your car and keep messing with you. I mean, we have them all over here. You never, ever. I mean, they see you come and you get too close, they're gone. They're not hovering and following your car.
Well, if one flew over, now I've had
if they flew over.
I actually have had some turkey and some turkey buzzards fly over the car, and kind of like I'm going this way and they're going that way. You know what I mean? So they come off the hill and go that direction. So, and in the heat of the moment, you could maybe theoretically say, or think, you maybe were thinking, oh God, that thing's chasing us. It's hanging over the car, but
maybe, I don't know.
And then the other thing is, if it were behind, if for whatever reason it got behind them and they hit the brakes,
that's what I would do. Like you're following me. I'm in a 57 Chevy. It's like a tank, man. I'm going to hit the brakes.
If you hit the brakes, it's going to have red brakes. So that's going to be, that could contribute to if there was any shine. I mean, I don't know.
The pictures and videos that I watched today because of this torturous show, just it didn't look like it would reflect. It wouldn't shine. And I get like Tiffany made a comment here. If the eyes are glowing, the headlights don't need to illuminate the face. But the point is, like, you're only going to get glowing eyes with eye shine.
With eye reflection, they don't glow. There's nothing that produces light.
So, I mean, the headlights don't have to be pointed directly at them, but they have to be pointed in that general area, like towards them, because the light needs to get in and reflect back to you in order to see them. So there does have to be almost a straight on angle, not completely, but almost a straight on angle. And that's not going to happen with just red feathers up top. And they're a dull red. It's not like a bright, fiery red. At least the ones that I saw, they were very like dark.
What kind of biological advantage, hypothetically, could red glowing eyes do for an animal?
Does it have something to do with more of the rods in the eyes that allow for better night vision? Because a lot of
I'm saying if your eyes are illuminating, but if your eyes are illuminating red and they glow red without having reflective anything.
So with us,
that's okay.
When we get red eye,
it's thermal
that's
imaging,
because the flash.
You're drinking.
Sorry. Shh, later.
Okay.
This
weekend,
the light of the flash is going through the lens in your eye and reflecting off the blood vessels in the back of your eye. That's where you're getting the red from. So we don't actually have eye shine. It's just illuminating through the lens. So I don't know how it works with like deer because you're seeing green instead of red.
Tapetum lucidum, I think. Dave, is that what it's called?
Okay.
It's the same. It's that reflects the light.
Yeah, I don't.
The property of the eye structure.
And
I see Tiffany made a Doctor Who comment. I've got my sonic screwdriver.
Oh my God.
I got 2 sonic screwdrivers.
And I think the problem here is that we don't know if it's actually red. I mean, that's somebody that, again, this is 4 people that were in the car together that already discussed their stories, already got the details aligned because of his handwritten reports. When I'm reading them, I actually stopped on the second and third one going, wait, did I read this already? And then turned back. I'm like, oh shit, it's almost word for word. Some of these descriptions. So, I mean, when we talk about maybe somebody thought they saw red. I don't know. I wasn't there. The only 4 people were there. So I don't know exactly what they saw. But that's something that I would speculate. Like maybe they didn't see red. Maybe they just said that because it appeared red. Maybe they did see a reflector because in the later account from Linda, she talks about this thing getting its wing caught in a guide wire. Maybe there was a reflector on the wires. The power plant was not in operation, and I believe that there was a fence around it. So maybe there were some kind of reflectors on the fence. I don't know. These are all things that we don't know. We can't account for. We're never going to know because, none of the stuff is there anymore. So we're never going to know this.
And then there's been just so much added to it over the years. And it's hard to suss out what's real and what's, well, I don't know, not real. I mean, what might have possibly happened versus what has just been added with folklore. So.
And I mean, when we get into the first pictures, like I think even the first picture that Linda drew or sketched, or somebody sketched for her, one of the original witnesses made this sketch, courtesy of Linda. So we're talking about that,
right?
And like that to me does look more owl-like, at least the shape of it. Maybe an owl perched on a tree stump or a fence post. I don't. Again, this is really hard because there is no evidence except for. Well, actually, I only have 3. I don't have the 4th guy, but 3 eyewitness testimonies. I mean, that's really all we got. We got some a little bit of detail from like 3 or 4 other people, I think, that kind of joined up that night as they went around, because I think they went to like a drive-in theater or something like that. The kids went to some theater or something and met with the owner, who was going to take some kids home, told them. That guy went with them. Then the police were called and went out, and I don't know if the police actually saw anything, because I didn't.
There was a police report. I mean, when they reported it to the police, the officer said that, and I forget which newspaper he reported it to, but he said it was a freak shite poke, and so he thought that was, and that's just a colloquial term for a heron. So, you know, he at the time they said it's a heron, it's a crane, it's a bird. The first reports of it, it's a giant bird.
I wonder. I mean, I know that they said they weren't drinking, they weren't doing drugs, but the wording on some of that, like I think Linda's testimony, she says that they were not drinking at the time. And when I read that, I was like, that sounds like you might have been drinking beforehand.
If you catch me between drinks, I'm not drinking at the time.
Then, yeah. I mean, that really just
gonna resume, but not at the time. Specifically,
not at the time.
You would make an excellent attorney.
I deal with enough of them at work lately.
Oh shit!
So just another off the beaten path, but doesn't that drawing look like the orange monster on Bugs Bunny?
You're a very interesting monster guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
A very interesting hairdo. I'm thinking mushrooms and Bugs Bunny was involved.
But I think, Daniel, did you point that out about the evolution? Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You have a skin. I'm gonna put this up here so people can see it. Share screen. So you have this sketch, which is pretty much one of the original descriptions, and then this is the statue we have in the town square. I mean, that's a big difference. That's a big evolution. I mean, Mothman got a 6-pack along the way. He got buns of steel. And he got butterfly wings instead of like these wings that came down his back. I mean, because the descriptions say that the wings could just be the top of the wings could just be seen above its shoulders, not like this statue depicts.
The statue that's an artistic representation, though, right? Is anybody claiming this is the actual?
I don't know
what people reported exactly.
Yeah, no, and as a matter of fact, I think and this is one of these things that I picked up on one of the documentaries that I watched. They didn't even really. They didn't know that statue was going to be there. They just sort of announced, hey, they're doing a Mothman statue out here, and so the mayor at the time came out, and I think John Keel was there, and so there was originally a little bit of animosity there, because I think that is somewhere through there's a veterans memorial, if I'm not mistaken, and that there was some contention with it.
I think I want to say, isn't that across the street closer to the river? I'm not 100% sure, but I thought that's where the Veterans Memorial was.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay.
I'll have to look again.
We'll check this weekend when we're there.
We'll take a look.
Yeah, we'll take a look. We'll take a look.
So, question I have. Okay, so we have all these possibilities. Could be messed up. The story was well established. Why would the reports stop after the bridge collapsed?
Maybe because that diverted attention. That was a real event that happened.
Gave him something real to worry about?
Something real to worry about. I mean, how many people died in that accident?
46.
60?
46. Yeah. So, Silver Bridge collapse. 46 people. 2 of the victims were never found. So that's 46 people.
So it kind of gives. I mean, that's an interesting psychology thought experiment. Did it give them
Right.
something else to think about, or does something like that tragic happen that they link to maybe a paranormal cause or creature? Would that trigger more sightings then?
That it's difficult to say. I'm going to speculate
Yeah.
right now that it was probably because you had 46 people that were probably at least mostly local people, probably well known, and it affected at least 46 families, probably more, where this tragedy happened and they loss of life, and then the investigation. And for the locals, I would expect that this was just something that took their minds off the fantasy stuff, the entertainment of these weird sightings. And honestly, I don't know how many reports there were about the Mothman itself, like just reports of the creature. I don't even want to say Mothman because I have another idea I want to bring up, but I mean, it took away from that, and everyone spent their time and energy and thoughts on this tragedy, and it was just forgotten. Everyone moved on.
I was going to say maybe like a respect thing. It was just respectful not to get back into that after.
Yeah, except for the paranormal enthusiasts that were like, "Oh, Mothman caused this."
Yeah,
and
I'm shocked.
There was that one guy that was in that video, and that was again that industrial development, community development, whatever he was. He and they posited that question to him, and he said that people were just tired of it at that point. It was that this happened, and this took center stage, and they just wanted to move on. They just
maybe
it ran its course.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to throw out there is that so many of these reports kind of try to link themselves together, as in seeing one creature. And why can't it be just multiple things? Why can't it be a crane, a heron, an owl? And they were just seen at different times, and we have different witnesses, nobody saying the exact same thing that we know of, because we can't. Honestly, if one person sees something at night and comes in and tells a story, like, we can only go by their description. But this could be multiple animals. It could be hoaxes. I mean, I'm not saying all of them are complete fabrications, but some of them might be, where people just wanted attention. They wanted their spotlight. They wanted the 15 minutes in an article, had their name mentioned in an article, maybe get on the radio program and said, "Oh yeah, I saw this creature too." Again, probably a small percentage, if any. I don't know. But I mean, what's the likelihood that some of these sightings were just of different animals? And at one point, even in these handwritten accounts, when they go back, I think because Linda's like the 8-page report. Everyone else is like 1 or 2 pages. She writes that they went back and were shining lights into the woods, and at one point they just saw eyes. They saw the eye shine. They didn't actually see a creature. They didn't see a body. They just saw eye shine. So for that, and I think that was a later comment too, but still, like, is that the same creature?
Right.
No idea. And it's just, that's the kind of thing that gets me. And we can relate that to a lot of the cases that we deal with now, modern cases, where people just attribute every freaking experience to the same freaking ghost or cryptid or alien UFO sighting, because it's in the same area, without giving thought to maybe it's just different things. So there's my rant for the night. Anyone else?
About says it all.
So we went downtown. So after it was hovering over the car, gliding, reaching about 100 miles an hour, it says we went downtown, turned around, and went back there and back, and there it was again. It seemed to be waiting on us. So just from a behavioral standpoint, if you're so terrified that you do 100 miles an hour out of there, it was hovering over your car. Like, I just would want to understand the motivation of turning around and going back without at least notifying someone first that come out and help us. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I
mean, if that was me, and again, if I was in West Virginia, because you guys got a license, just put shotguns in your car out there.
You'd have a
I would arm up. If I saw this creature that I thought was 7 feet tall with a 10-foot wingspan, that's a big ass freaking creature, and I'm not going back. And they also described it as looking like a muscular man, like a thin muscular man with wings. So this is a big thing. I'm not going to go back unarmed. I'm going to get people together and say, hey, like next morning or maybe the next night, which they did. They went out the next couple days, look at hunting for this thing. But I wouldn't go back without any kind of weapon or anything like that. No, not at all.
And it is West Virginia, so the distinct possibility exists that they may have had a weapon in the cars while they were out there to begin with.
I was going to say, I bet they already had one.
I mean, I don't want to be mean, but these people do not look like they are people that would go back. So here's a picture of them. So they look pretty young. They don't look, I want to say tough. They look like they would see a creature and run as fast as they could. I'm not saying that's bad. I mean, I'd probably run too. But I don't think they would go back. But again, this is what? 66. So 30, 40, 50 years. Yes. Later that I'm saying this. I mean, I'm the kind of idiot that would go back because like I wouldn't have left in the first place, especially if when they describe they come up over this little hill initially and they see it there in the road. Like for me, I'm safe right now. I'm in my car. I can see it. I know where it is. It's in my headlights. Okay, good. Now, if it starts coming towards me, I'll hit it with the car. Or I can back up. So I'm good. But again, like the reports differ. It's either in the middle of the road or it was on the side of the road. And then one report said it was caught in the wire and then it went into this building and started running away. And even the running part reminds me of a bird, with the wings. It goes like this because they can't run straight.
Wait, how does it go?
How's it go, Kenny?
He's gonna recreate that when we're in I'm
gonna run
Point Pleasant.
I'm gonna take a meme. I'm gonna do it. One of those.
Get him some little angel wings and watch him just
like one of the nights.
The road.
Like Friday night or Saturday night, we'll just head down to the TNT area, and I'll just get out and start running like this.
We'll get going about 100 miles an hour and see if we can hit you before you get across the road.
I wonder if we can get away with that. Like, just look at the thing and see. Yeah, like,
yeah. Well, probably because there'd be too many people.
There's too many people. Yeah.
You could maybe if there wasn't that weekend.
Yeah.
You could get a lot. You could get away with a lot if it wasn't that weekend.
Right. And I noticed that the museum is open Monday too. So if anything, if it's too busy during the festival, I can get up.
It will be
Monday and go through the museum too. So because I want to make sure I get through it because I went through it the last time I was there, but again, that was like 20 years ago, something like that. It was ridiculously long. When I started thinking about it, I got depressed. I'm like, holy shit. I think that was 20 years ago.
Yep.
Oh, well.
I have one other picture I'd like to show you guys.
Yeah.
It's from the Gray Barker collection. Let me see if I can get my present thing back here. Video, share screen. Select window. I think it was that one. Nope. Not that one.
You're not prepared.
I know. I actually thought I was, and I'm not. Allowed.
Obviously.
Yeah. What can I say?
Did you even read the report?
Yes,
Oh,
I read the report. That's funny, man.
Sorry.
Yeah, that hurt. That hurt bad. Um, this is from the Gray Barker collection,
mhm.
and this guy up here, this Jean Duplantier, was the
Okay.
fellow that Gray Barker commissioned to do artwork for um, a lot of his stuff that he did, and he was up in Canada, and you'll notice that it's addressed from Gene to the Mothman. Well, this is Gray Barker's address of his place in Clarksburg.
Oh,
Okay, now the contents, the sole contents of this envelope was that a man dressed in an owl suit. So,
Woodsy the
yeah.
Owl's looking rough.
that's funny.
So anyway,
Man.
Oh boy.
Well, we'll be there this weekend to uncover the truth, I guess.
Yes,
Or to
Yes.
at least drink and have fun.
probably
the news.
that.
2009. That's when I was there. That's the last time
Been
I
a
was
while.
there. Yeah, a little bit.
I was in 16.
So not too bad. All right. Are we good? We got anything else you want to bring
I
up?
think we're good.
I'm good.
All right. We talked about eye shine. We really talked about eye shine.
We'll make
a
it
lot.
easy. My I think I'm up next. The next show will be the post Mothman Festival.
How many times did we get vickered?
Yeah.
Tabs. Ooh, that might be good. I plan on actually. I want to do a video of it to put it together. So, like, I'm going to film getting ready and then going down, and then while we're there, going around as we talk to different people. You guys are up for it, but I mean,
Might be
that'd be funny if we get told like I don't want to talk to you anymore, or all right, go away, or something like that. Like I'll add a little ding to the video each time.
Put like a little counter down
Little
there.
counter up.
Get the Ghostbuster sign out, the little
Ding.
circle with the cross through it.
Like 1, 2, 3. Oh, we got kicked out of every booth. Oh,
Well,
shit.
it'll be fun. Looking forward.
All right. So
All right.
closing thoughts here. We'll Daniel, you're our guest. You go first.
I'm just, I like it just because of the folklore aspects, and I think West Virginia has just such a rich volume of cryptids and weirdnesses, and this is just one that's really special to me because it was my first article for the Skeptical Inquirer, so Mothman holds a special little place in my little shriveled up cold heart.
Oh, that's so sweet. He's such a nerd. All right. Tim.
Really nerd? You're going to call someone nerd?
Yeah, I know. I know my own people.
That's right.
Tim.
I don't know what the hell it was. Who knows? I maybe they experienced something. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm kind of falling in line with Daniel though. Like it's a fantastic story that came out, and it's certainly doing well for Point Pleasant. It certainly is an economy boost for here in many towns that need economy boosts. So have fun. I was there again, like I was there 2016 or 2017, somewhere around there. It was great. Live bands, the streets packed. Many of the vendors and the store owners are there. Met lots of wonderful people. It's a good time. Like I think it's going to be another great time. I really do.
Cool. Dave.
Yeah, agree with all that. Looking forward to it. Be fun. I don't think we know what it was. I mean, even some of the stuff put forward as we talk through Sandhill Crane, no, probably not. Blue Heron, maybe. Owls, maybe. We don't know. We don't know for sure. 100%. And there's a lot of doubt any way you look at this. So they saw something, perhaps, and they got their stories synced up as they're chatting, as they're going 110 miles an hour back to town and the hills of Ohio and West Virginia. But, I don't know. I mean, and it seems like there's, the couple reports Kenny was reading from, the red eye thing's questionable. The whole thing is, to me, it's just a good story. It's a lot of fun. the tragedy that happened that people say was the end of it is horrible. It's almost too bad they kind of link that to it. But besides that, the sighting itself, it's interesting, and the fact that supposedly they're saying there's sightings like that around Chicago. Of course, I'm interested in this, and I follow the sightings in Chicago, which I don't know. I haven't looked lately, but I don't know if they've dropped off or not. But there was a flurry. I think it was 2019, 2020.
Mhm.
There was a flurry of sightings, but somebody else up here looked at some of those reports, and a lot of the facts of those reports as they were written down or told by the person who originally supposedly investigated and wrote about it, they didn't match up. So there's almost as much uncertainty there as some of the ones that we're talking through here. But to me, it's interesting. It's going to be fun. Looking forward to the weekend.
Awesome. And for me, I'm pretty much in line with you guys. I mean, it's a really good story. I think it's really good for the folklore, and obviously it's good for the town because it does boost the economy. Their festival is well attended, and it's a good time. It's a really good time, and it really doesn't have an impact. Like there's some things that we have talked about in the paranormal community that has a negative impact on community and families and people's lives and stuff like that. And this doesn't really have one that I can see. It really doesn't. It's a fun story. And when you start breaking it down, yeah, a lot of things don't make sense. They don't line up. And I think there's not much really to this. I think it's something that got out of hand, a story that got out of hand. And it was a story that was developed in 1966 when stories could get developed because it was a slower process. It really took time to get out there, and to study it or to investigate it took so much longer. So we have the benefit of hindsight. But with that, I think it's a fun story. I mean, obviously, I think it's fun because I have Mothman toys and figures and plush things, and I have books and stickers and stuff. Thanks, Daniel. And I have stuff, all over the office about Mothman. I think it's a really cool story. So we're going to have a good time this weekend. If anything, it'll be just good for the four of us to get together and hang out. And then the whole Mothman thing is a bonus. So,
that's so sweet.
Yeah, that's cool. That touched my whole heart.
I love you guys too.
I love you guys are so awesome. I love you guys.
Well, if that Mothman's chasing us, man, it's whoever the slowest is. It sucks to be you.
Bullshit. I'm gonna be like, Kitty called you a bitch.
That's right, I did.
He said you weren't shit.
I was like, these bastards are from out of state. You guys.
That's right. Me and Daniel. We're in.
Screw you, I got a Mothman up in Chicago. I don't need this shit on vacation.
All right, guys. I will see you this weekend. Everyone else, have a great week. Have a good weekend coming up. Enjoy it, and never stop learning. We'll see you later.
Bye.
See ya.
Tortured souls.